And instead of owning a business, they have a business that owns them. They are working longer hours than ever before. They're handling everything themselves. They're stuck in the weeds instead of focusing on the bigger picture, which should be growth. And the reality of it is, hustle is a season, not a strategy. Welcome to the Aligned State podcast. I'm Kristian Livolsi, and today we are having an inspiring conversation. And joining me, my incredible co-host, my guru, my friend, Bronwyn.
Welcome back to the Aligned State podcast. I'm Bronwyn, and today we're addressing something that so many business owners struggle with, and that's feeling trapped by the very thing that they've created. So I'm joined by Kristian Livolsi today, and I'm going to ask you a couple of questions before we introduce Kristian fully. Do you feel like your business runs you instead of the other way around? If that's immediately striking a chord with you, then just keep listening. If you're working harder but feel like you're just not getting ahead, it's definitely worth tuning in. Or if the whole reason you started is for freedom and it's not feeling that way, that's what we want to address. So most business owners don't have a business. They have a job that they can't escape. So often people start their own business thinking it's going to give them the freedom, and before they know it, they're actually well and truly buried in this mountain of work. So today I am joined by Kristian Livolsi, as I mentioned earlier. He's my co-founder of the Aligned State, who's helped hundreds of entrepreneurs design businesses that work for them, not the other way around. Kristian, why do so many business owners feel trapped by their own success?
Hi, Bronwyn, and I want to say to you what a wonderful introduction that was to a very wonderful topic. And I think those three questions that you posed earlier to our listeners are incredibly powerful. And if that is you, please stick around. This is going to be a long one, but I'm telling you it's going to be worth it, because I've certainly been here. Bronwyn's certainly been here. And I have to make a correction. It's not hundreds anymore. It's now thousands of entrepreneurs and business owners. But it is still a remarkable opportunity that both of us get to change the lives of one person or many. And I think that's really, really powerful itself. So, Bronwyn, this is one of the biggest challenges that I see in business. People start a business to create freedom, and freedom means financial, personal, and professional. But somewhere along the line, that freedom actually turns into a prison. And instead of owning a business, they have a business that owns them. They are working longer hours than ever before. They're handling everything themselves. They're stuck in the weeds instead of focusing on the bigger picture, which should be growth. And the reality of it is, hustle is a season, not a strategy, right? So hustle is a season, not a strategy. And in case you didn't write that down, it is one of my most famous quotes: hustle is a season, not a strategy. And if your business requires you to be involved in every detail, you don't own a business. You've built yourself what I would call a demanding job.
So why do you think so many business owners fall into this trap?
Well, do you want the G version, the PG version, the M version, or the R version? But look, there are three major reasons, Bronwyn. They never set up systems for scale, right? They built everything around themselves instead of a structure that runs without them. That's number one. The next one too is they're afraid to delegate or let go. How many times have you and I seen that? It's the classic no one can do it as well as I can mindset, and that keeps them stuck in this horrible control mode. And this is even some of the best leaders that I've ever seen. And even when I'm mentoring them, they like, no, I'm not a control freak. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, you are, right? And you're like, what is going on here? How do you not see that? And by the way, all you gender individuals, right? This applies to both genders. Male and female leaders fall into the same trap. But it's one of the things that I go, this is where total gender neutrality, right? Does not matter, right? It's if you're a leader, you are a control freak and you are kind of stuck. So, and the last one is they're chasing growth the wrong way. More clients, more revenue, but no real strategy for freedom, right? So growth without systems and team support, without team support, leads to burnout, not freedom. And so the shift happens when business owners stop seeing themselves as workers and actually start thinking like architects.
Yeah, I can completely see that. So I think that's really great, because it does give, just by using that different word, it starts to reframe it for people, which is fantastic, you know. So how do they shift from being, you know, the operator to the architect? What do you recommend?
Look, if they're going to be shifting from operator to architect, it really does come down to this. It all starts with your mindset. Most business owners are stuck in operator mode. They're doing everything themselves instead of building a business that can function without them. Now, the business owner mindset or the CEO mindset or the entrepreneur mindset, whatever you might call it, all three kind of the same, is replacing yourself in low value tasks, trusting your team to take ownership, and designing systems that make the business work without your constant input. So think about it this way. If you can't step away for a month without everything falling apart, you don't own a business. You own a full-time job with no overtime and no holiday pay,
Mm,
right? And no sick leave, by the way, too. Right? That's
yeah.
that's the issue. So to create freedom, you have to lead, not just work.
Mm. I think that's a really great question to ask yourself. You know, can I step away from my business for 4 weeks? Because if I can't, that should be a red flag. And, you know, so often people don't put into their business planning and strategy succession planning, which enables them to do exactly what you've just talked about.
Brian,
Yeah.
I see it in every business I walk into, and I've helped build a lot of really outstanding businesses in the last 6 years. Some that when I got there were average, and now they're great. A lot were good when they came to me, and now they're great. And a couple now have made outstanding. The ones that have gone from great to outstanding is the leaders that have actually stepped away, right?
Yeah.
Where, they not only have been able to do so comfortably, but they can go and travel to Europe for 6 weeks and the business that comes back and the business is running better,
Yeah.
right? And they don't feel afraid of that because
Mm,
at the end of the day, like I say to them, you're the boss.
mm,
You should be
mm,
proud if it's running better without you,
mm,
right? And then you get other business owners who I've worked with for a long time who really struggle to let go.
mm,
And even though it's true that they do things better than anyone else in their company, so you should.
mm,
Like, if you come into any of our programs or you hire me one on one, you expect me, you don't expect someone else,
mm.
right? But in our programs, our community has become very engaging and um, they're learning from me. A lot of them have been in there for 2 years,
Mm,
right? 85% retention rate in 2.5 years.
mm.
And so these guys are getting better and better at helping their peers, not just with their mindset, but with their actions. And so
So,
when that trust is formed, even if they're not your employees, they're peers, it
mm,
actually takes the pressure off me.
mm,
So when we mastermind, people are getting these incredible bits of feedback from other people with massive diversity of industries. So
mm.
the learning becomes even more profound.
Yeah. So do you think that as they step away, they become, in fact, more influential because they become clearer about their role and about exactly how to influence those they work with in a way that is healthy?
100%. And it's also healthier for them, healthier for
Yeah.
the families. I
Yeah.
often get asked by the clients that are doing really, really well who are burning out and don't listen to me telling them, hey, you are burning out, right?
Mm.
You are burning out, not in the context of, are you overworked? You're overthinking. And
Yeah.
then the immediate next message I get 2 days later is, can we talk about my exit plan? And I
Mm.
just sit there and I'm like, you fucking totally missing the point.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's like a cycle, right? And I've had to work with people to go, okay, cool, you're ready to exit, let's exit. And let's what's the 3-year plan? And they look at me, they go, 3 years. I'm like, well, you want maximum return, don't you?
Mm.
Right? We've been doing this, this, and this to minimize your tax position. So by now selling it with a minimized tax position, you're not in a strong position.
Mm.
So we know what this can do. We can see what the ROI is going to be, but that also comes down to alignment. If you're
Mm.
not fully aligned with the vision that you've created, then you'll burn out faster. If you're not aligned to all the people you've hired, right, then you've also got a problem. But I also believe that when owners and CEOs and leaders are in a survival mode, they also hire people they attract people that are also in survival mode,
Yeah.
but may still be excellent operators. but then
Yeah.
when they get into the survival mode, they just burn out faster.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
it's kind of like this is where I like to take owners away from recruiting when they get to about $2 to $3 million. And
Mm.
believe me, so many owners still do their own recruitment when they're doing $2 or $3 million in turnover. It's like, can you please fuck off? And everyone's like, Kristian, you can't speak to me like that. Mate, I can because I can quit whenever I feel like it. Like it's
Yeah.
not a and you know, a lot of people say to me all the time, you put the fear of God in people when you work for them. And I'm like, well, it's not. My job is to make you better.
Yeah.
Right. And
Absolutely.
if I'm lying to you, then I'm just a paycheck, mate. I don't need a paycheck. I certainly
Mm.
don't need yours. Like it's kind of like I don't need a paycheck. You
Mm.
know, I got into consulting because I could, right? It wasn't because I couldn't make it. 80
Yeah.
businesses later, right? 44 exits. I really, please, it's kind of, and I think that's what puts me in such a unique way. But also, I've invested a lot of money to become the person that I am. And,
Mm.
and don't get me wrong, I fall into the same trap too. That's
Mm.
probably the part that people don't realize. And if you work in one of my programs, you've seen it, the vulnerability that I have.
Yeah.
I walk through my clients exactly what I'm doing, how I'm
Yeah.
doing. And a lot of time they're like, hang on a minute, you're meant to be my mentor, my advisor, and you're telling me that you're having this problem. And I'm like, yeah, but I also have the solution that you don't have. All
Yeah.
right, so
That's
that's
right.
the difference. But I
Yeah.
want to show you by demonstration that I am just as normal as you are.
Yeah.
Right? And why? Because the only way people are going to get from good to great is to see what great looks like in practice. And great in practice is actually having to be good to start with. So
Yeah.
I kind of go, hey, I've made this boo boo. I'm not a bad operator. I'm a good operator, but I made this mistake.
Mm.
Why did I make this mistake?
Mm.
Okay, let me show you now the mistake I made. And then I'm going to show you my solution. And the good thing is because I'm teaching it live at the same time, my team are learning because they're all in the room
Yeah.
and the clients are learning. And
Mm.
then when they are dealing with that situation 3 months later, they're
Mm.
like 1-3-1 rule. They don't
Mm.
even have to bring me the problem. They solve it themselves. And they're like, Kristian, do you remember that story you told? I said, well, the stories that you guys complain about that I say all the time. So, but look, I've also built really robust frameworks. So I'm
Yes.
sure that
That's
one of your questions is going to be somewhere around some kind of freedom framework. I know
yeah.
that you've asked me this question before, but yeah. So anyway, that's my very long, convoluted answer to your previous question.
Well, if you've got a business owner or a CEO who, you know, panics and says, I just want out, but you know it's not the right time for them to get out, what are you going to recommend to them as the framework to move them forward so that
Well,
they
look,
don't get trapped?
yeah. Look, there are lots of frameworks, but I have a 4-step framework for building freedom-based businesses anyway. And I think rather than focusing on the person that's ready to exit, right? Let's say that we've gotten to the point where just they're ready before they're ready to exit. So they
Yeah.
haven't quite
They're
gone, okay, it's time for me to
exhausted. Yeah.
go. Because
Yeah.
also, by the way, most people, when they say they're ready to exit, that's actually a cry for help. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm
That's
here.
right.
And I've come across 2 new clients recently, big clients, who'd hired all the wrong consultants, paid the most ridiculous amount of money to people to actually get them out. And when I looked at this, I was like, why do these people charge you all this money? Like we're talking 6-figure stuff when there's no way in hell they could have sold this. Not in the situation and the current circumstance it's in. And
Mm.
you would have been left with nothing.
Mm.
And this person, well, these 2 individual clients, separate, both were like, Kristian, no one even told us that. And I said, no, because they're transactional. They want your money.
Mm.
Right? Whereas I look at you as a person first. And so part of that framework that I've adopted, right, for creating a business that serves you now, I'm very lucky. I've created many businesses now that are freedom businesses. I'm not the managing director of, well, I am the managing director of Argentum Lineo, which is the high-end advisory firm. And I'm the only sole principal in that business. But all my other businesses, I am not the managing partner or the managing director. And yet, in most cases, I am more than 80% equity in all of those businesses. Right.
Mm.
So that's a really important thing to state. So the first step you must do is you got to actually systematize and automate, right? And you got to do this from the day you start. If you do
Mm.
this from the day you start, this will be so much easier, right? So every repetitive task should be documented and automated. Okay. Standing operating procedures, so SOPs, turn chaos into consistency. Okay. And this is where a lot of people get lost when they're trying to run everything. And it's like, stop. You have just sent the same damn fucking email to like 8 people. Set up a damn template in Google. And every time you need to write that 400 word same email, you've got a template, click template, and then just make the tweaks you need to make. And people are like, what? I'm like, yeah, man, you are allowing life to manage you, not you manage the time. So the second thing you got to do is you got to build self-sufficient teams, right? And this is one of the key skills that I teach when I work, particularly one-on-one in the group programs. This is more challenging, but we have a really robust framework for this. But the first thing is hire for ownership, not just tasks, and empower people to make decisions without waiting for you. Earlier, I said 131. The 131 rule is, um, when anyone has to come to you, the first thing they have to do is come to you with paper and with a defined problem written down. They have to come with 3 solutions to that problem, and then the one solution they would choose. Not only is this a great coaching exercise, but it is a foundational piece to get people to stop asking you bullshit questions they actually can answer themselves, right? And it works every organization I go in, and people are like, why did no one teach me the 131 rule like 30 years ago? And staff generally struggle with this at first, and then all of a sudden they realize I didn't have to waste all that time going back and forth for no good reason. So the third thing you need to do is you need to design for profit and scalability from the beginning. So you got to focus on high margin offers that don't drain your time. If you're going to go and compete in a red ocean, right, in your business, you should know this at the beginning. Then it's going to be a margin game. It's going to be a price differentiator because you've got nothing that differentiates you. And I could sit there and argue that all coaching businesses are not made equal and blah, blah, blah. And you know what? But to the common person, they're going to go with whoever has more money, right? And makes themselves look like they can jump out of a helicopter every single day. They fly business class, and all that shit is all fake most of the time. And yet it's funny that I say that. I fly business class and I go on helicopters. I just don't show it, right? And the reason is because I just think it's bullshit. Like, just because someone's got money doesn't mean they're good at what they do, right? I've seen plenty of people that have been failures of business, but have learned so much from those failures that have gone on to become extraordinary mentors. And it just blows my mind because both failure and success leave clues. But I think the most important part, as I said, is look for high margin offers that don't drain your time. Shift from trading time for money to scalable revenue streams. Really important if you want to build freedom. And the fourth step is test the system. Take a step back. Take a week test break, right? And see if that falls apart, right? So every problem that arises, that's a system gap you need to fix. So it's first principle thinking, right? Elon Musk has founded all of his businesses on this. Steve Jobs. There are so many phenomenal leaders in this world that have built their entire innovative foundations on the first principle formula, right? And that's essentially what you do. You do something, you build it, you step back. Did it fall apart? Yes, let's fix it. What fell apart? If it didn't fall apart, okay. Did we have to use Band-Aids or that actually worked on its own? It worked on its own. Great. Move on. Make sure you got it all documented and step back. So if you follow this 4-step process, and your business will actually start working for you, not the other way around. And I think that is the most fundamental and most important part of this whole conversation, right? So, yeah, and it's worked for me now, 40 times since I learnt it out of the 80. Clearly, the first 40, I didn't have it down packed.
So we've covered a lot of territory. So what is one thing that someone who's stuck in their business can do, the first step to move forward?
Easy. Bronwyn, start with a 30-minute freedom audit, right? Write down every task that you do in a week. Highlight only what you can do. Everything else, start systematizing, automating, delegating, or better still, deleting, right? This one exercise shows you where your time is trapped and where you can start reclaiming freedom. If you don't know how to do this without a tool, we've got a task auditing tool, a productivity tool that we use at the Business Growth Mindset. If you drop the word productivity in the chat, wherever, I will actually get one of our team to send it to you in the DMs. We don't need your emails. We don't want to spam you. We just send it to you in a DM. So yeah, I don't think you can DM us on Apple or Spotify, but you can on YouTube. And if you're seeing this in a reel, you can just drop it in the reel, and either way, I'll send it to you. But it's actually really simple. As I said, write down every task you do each week, highlight what only you can do, and then everything else, systematize it, automate it, delegate it, or detonate it, right? It's simple.
Yeah, I love that detonator. They're the things that are not critical.
Oh, I love detonating things. It's my favorite.
Okay, Kristian, that has just been amazing. So thank you so much for sharing all that. So many business owners think freedom is a distant dream, and it would be really great if they can take back that their own energy and responsibility and step into choice and strategy. So, any final thoughts before we wind up?
Look, I think you said it earlier. You didn't build your business to become its prisoner, right?
Mm.
So if you want true freedom, you have to design it. That means letting go of control, building the right systems and the right team, and shifting from operator to architect. And the moment you commit to designing for freedom, that is the moment everything changes, Bronwyn. And I think that's it.
Fantastic. Well, that's it for today's episode of the Aligned State podcast. Thank you for joining us. It was a long one, but it's had lots of valuable cues in it. So we look forward to seeing you next time. Stay aligned and keep building a business that gives you life, not one that takes it.
I love that. Love that. See you, everybody.